When Fantastic Four came out in 2005, it was criticized for being too lighthearted and campy, with a kid-friendly tone that catered to younger audiences, leaving older audiences craving a more serious, cinematic take on Marvel's first family. However, Home Alone and eventual Harry Potter director Christopher Columbus tried to bring the iconic characters to the big screen in the mid-90s in an ambitious, big-budget spectacle, which would have made it one of the most expensive movies of the 90s. So let's dive in and find out why it never happened and also take a look at what could have been the Fantastic Four. Ever wonder what it would be like to solve crimes with Batman or talk shop with Iron Man? Turns out you can, and it's super easy and ridiculously cool. Just download Polybuzz, an AI-powered chatbot app where you can create custom characters or interact with the 20 million characters created by other users and chat with them anytime. I've been getting Batman's thoughts on Gotham, his rogue gallery, and even what he really thinks of Robin. It's like getting a peek into the mind of the Dark Knight. Of course, I couldn't resist creating my own character. Meet Bullets and Blockbusters, or BB for short, a movie-loving cinephile who's always ready to talk films, recommend hidden gems, and drop some behind-the-scenes Hollywood trivia. Whether you're looking for your next favorite flick or just want to geek out over your favorite director, BB is your go-to. So if you've ever wanted to chat with someone who knows every line of Pulp Fiction and can debate Spielberg versus Scorsese, now's your chance. Give it a try and see what BB has to say. With over 10 million downloads worldwide, join the Polybuzz community today. Download the app using the link in the description and search code B&B for Poly Premium features. A huge thanks to Polybuzz for sponsoring this video, and for creating such a fun way to connect with your favorite characters. Try it out and let me know who you end up chatting with first. The first attempt to make a Fantastic Four film was in the early 90s, when German producer Bernd Eichinger faced losing the rights he had secured from Marvel. To retain them, he needed to produce a film before the rights expired, leading him to hire Roger Corman, the king of low-budget filmmaking, to create a version for just $1 million, saying, "Marvel didn't say I had to make a big movie." Completed in 1994, the film was never meant for release. It was only produced to help Eichinger retain the rights, while the cast and crew unknowingly believed they were making a legitimate theatrical movie. Afterwards, with the rights still in hand, Eichinger struck a deal with 20th Century Fox, who began making plans in the mid-90s for a proper big-budget adaptation. To direct it, Fox would hire Christopher Columbus, who had just directed Home Alone and would eventually go on to direct the first two Harry Potter films. Columbus would later state the reason he got into filmmaking because he grew up as a kid obsessed with Marvel Comics, making him an ideal choice to helm a respectful adaptation of the Fantastic Four. To write it, he'd hire Michael France, writer of Cliffhanger and GoldenEye, and while the 2005 Fantastic Four film retained many of the story beats from Michael France's script, earning him a story by credit, his and Chris Columbus's version would have been far more ambitious. Their movie would have eliminated the love triangle between Reed, Sue, and Victor. Instead of lingering romantic tension, Reed and Sue, a brilliant physicist, are already engaged at the start of the film. Additionally, Victor Von Doom is completely reimagined as a brilliant, dangerous Russian scientist obsessed with pushing the limits of nanotechnology. Another significant change in this version is the relationship between Ben Grimm and Reed Richards. Unlike the 2005 film where they're lifelong best friends, here Ben and Reed barely get along. Ben, a hardened military commander, has been hired to co-pilot the Phoenix, a new, advanced, reusable shuttle, but he resents taking orders from Reed, especially since Reed used his pull as the Phoenix's designer to lead the mission, a move that doesn't sit well with the seasoned pilot. Adding to his frustration, NASA has assigned him to keep an eye on Dr. Storm's brother, Air Force Major Johnny Storm, a cocky test pilot who volunteered for the mission. Ben is less than happy about having to share cockpit duties with the younger pilot, who he views as reckless and undisciplined. After the Phoenix launches, it docks with a space station orbiting Earth, where Victor is already stationed. The story centers around Reed and Victor's research on nanotechnology and rearranging the atomic structure of molecules. While Reed envisions using the technology to cure diseases, Victor is fixated on reconfiguring living organisms. When Reed refuses to allow animal testing, Victor takes matters into his own hands, deliberately sabotaging the station's booster system to lure Ben Grimm into the nano-testing chamber so that he can experiment on a living thing. As Reed, Johnny, and Sue rush to rescue Ben, they all end up being exposed to the experimental technology, unknowingly setting the stage for their transformations. Meanwhile, Victor's reckless experiment causes the station to fall out of orbit, and as the team escapes in a shuttle, Victor is seemingly left for dead, only to fall into the nano chamber just before the station is destroyed in Earth's atmosphere. Upon returning to Earth, the team is quarantined as they develop strange new abilities, while the government declares them dead, issuing a cover story that they were lost to cosmic rays, a nod to the original original comics. Meanwhile, a terrorist group called the Enclave plans to bomb a half-finished skyscraper during the New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square. Learning of the plot, Reed convinces the others to escape and stop the attack. Using their newfound powers, they thwart the bombing, making their public debut as heroes. The media dubs them the Fantastic Four. Embracing their new roles, Reed purchases the top floors of the skyscraper where the attack was prevented, establishing it as their new headquarters. Meanwhile, the space station crashes into the mountains of Latveria, where Victor emerges transformed. His armor is described as streamlined with endless alien features, heavily influenced by H.R. Geiger's biomechanical aesthetic. No longer just a man, Victor has been rebuilt into a hybrid of flesh and machine. When Victor looks in the mirror, he sees a horribly disfigured face, but when the perspective shifts to objective reality, it's revealed that his narcissism has warped his perception and he actually bears only a small scar on his cheek. Using the nanotechnology, Doom seizes control of the country and crowns himself its absolute ruler. With grand ambitions to reshape the world in his image, he builds an army of Doombots and marches on the UN, declaring the world's leaders unfit to rule compared to him. Doom demands the world's leaders surrender to his rule or face annihilation, dramatically destroying the United Nations building to prove his power. As the world reels in shock, Reed watches the broadcast and realizes Doom is Victor, now more powerful and more unhinged than ever. With no time to waste, the Fantastic Four race to stop him. Doom's master plan is as grandiose as his ego. After capturing the team, he imprisons Johnny in a pressurized chamber that forcibly harnesses his abilities. By absorbing vast amounts of heat, Johnny becomes the core of a massive, unnatural storm that superheats the ocean, larger than any in recorded history. A hypercane, as Doom calls it. This cataclysmic storm is set to slam into the US East Coast, wiping out entire cities in a display of Doom's might. In a twisted act of manipulation, Doom tempts Ben with a cure, offering him the chance to become human again, an element later recycled in the 2005 film. But when the team unites for one final battle, Ben makes the ultimate sacrifice, choosing to undo his cure and permanently remain the thing to help stop Doom. With their combined strength, the Fantastic Four overcome Doom, preventing global catastrophe and securing their place as Earth's defenders. In the aftermath, the newly bonded family of heroes comes together to celebrate a hard-earned victory at Reed and Sue's idyllic wedding, marking the beginning of their legacy. Allegedly, Columbus wanted a real-life acting couple for Reed and Sue Richards, and eyed Dennis Quaid and then-wife Meg Ryan for the roles, while Alan Rickman and Jeffrey Rush were both rumored for Dr. Doom. France's draft of the Fantastic Four screenplay skillfully incorporated numerous nods to the original comics, providing ample fan service, and while it took creative liberties, the script was generally pretty faithful to the source material, ambitious in scope and infused with humor, courtesy of Christopher Columbus. Even Dr. Doom was portrayed in a manner faithful to his comic book counterpart, complete with his grandiose monologues. So what went wrong? Michael France's screenplay was a sprawling 160-page epic, teeming with action sequences. However, translating this ambitious vision to the screen posed significant challenges, bringing to life the diverse abilities of the team members with the limitations of 1990 CGI, plus the plethora of action scenes in the film, would have required costly practical and visual effects to bring them to life. Estimates placed the production budget at a staggering $165 million, a hefty sum for an unproven franchise at the time, and a number that would have made it one of the most expensive films of the 90s. Faced with these financial constraints, director Christopher Columbus decided to step down, as Fox would hire Sam Hamm, writer of Batman '89, to come in and rewrite the film script in an effort to reduce the budget and scope of the film. In Hamm's rewrite, the tone shifts towards something much more campy, characterized by numerous bad puns and one-liners, particularly from Dr. Doom. In this version, Victor, with the surname Van Damme, has lost an arm and seeks to regenerate it using nanotechnology, reminiscent of Dr. Connor's storyline in the Spider-Man series. After his transformation into Dr. Doom, he becomes overwhelmed by the nanomachines, which possess their own agenda, similar to Doc Ock's mechanical arms controlling him in Spider-Man 2. Doom's plan involves capturing the Fantastic Four to harvest their nanomachines, aiming to create a more stable body for himself. He then intends to merge with the Baxter Building, planning to expand over the city and eventually the entire world. A revolving door of directors would then come and go on the project, each bringing a comedic background that aligned with the film's new lighter tone. From Peter Segal, director of Naked Gun 33.5 and Tommy Boy, to Sam Wiseman, director of D2 Mighty Ducks and George of the Jungle, and then to Raja Gosnell, director of Big Mama's House. Gosnell would leave to direct Scooby-Doo. Peyton Reed, the eventual director of all three Ant-Man films, would then sign on to direct. Reed envisioned the movie as a 1960s period piece, reflecting the era when the Fantastic Four first appeared in the comics. He also wanted to emulate the energetic and freewheeling style of A Hard Day's Night, and present the superhero team as already established celebrities, immersing the audience directly in their adventures without delving into an origin story. This approach would have showcased the Fantastic Four's dynamic presence in 1960s Manhattan, much like the Beatles' charismatic portrayal in their film. However, Reed would eventually drop out of the project as he felt like Fox wanted to make a B-movie out of the property. Even the Lord of the Rings' Sean Astin campaigned for the job, off the back of his Academy Award-nominated short film, but after reading the scripts that had been written would say it's a little bit shocking. Like, I actually think most of the people in conventions could do a better job of developing most of these franchises than the studio executives themselves. Tim Story, fresh off of Barbershop and apparently impressing Fox executives with an early cut of the Queen Latifah comedy Taxi, would be hired for the job. When it came time to casting, Mads Mikkelsen was considered for Reed Richards. However, reflecting on the audition process, he described it as kind of humiliating and recounted being asked to pretend to grab a cup of coffee on the other side of the room with a long and stretchy arm. Robert Downey Jr. was considered for the role of Dr. Doom. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and Iron Man director Jon Favreau disclosed that Downey had met with Marvel for the part, before ultimately being cast as Tony Stark, a role that would become iconic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, had Downey been cast as Dr. Doom, the trajectory of his career in the MCU might have been markedly different. Thanks for watching, everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Bullets and Blockbusters for more great content.